Unit 2. Who is eligible? Who gets financial aid? And what are the types of aid that they can receive? There are 3 types of federal student aid. Free money, which is the federal Pell Grant, borrowed money, which is the federal subsidized and unsubsidized loan, and then there's earned money, which is work study. The federal Pell Grant. When you apply for FAFSA, you automatically apply for the federal Pell Grant. However, the federal Pell Grant is considered a need-based aid, which basically means that unless you have a really low income, your chances of actually receiving the federal Pell Grant is extremely low. They determined Pell Grant eligibility based on estimated family contribution. In other words, they're basically looking at your income to determine whether or not you don't make enough money to be considered for free money, because in reality, the federal Pell Grant does not require repayment. Just some quick facts. Again, need-based aid. Graduate students cannot receive this loan. It's only given to undergraduate students. And once you've obtained your first bachelor's degree, you are not eligible to receive Pell Grant after that. You only receive Pell Grant towards undergraduate studies. Pell Grant lasts up to essentially over the course of 6 years. So if you haven't gotten your degree in 6 years, chances are you will eventually run out of Pell. Even if you haven't gotten your undergraduate degree, and that's it. It's just 6 years worth, 6-year lifetime Pell Grant eligibility. Every year, the amount you receive in the federal Pell Grant actually increases. For instance, for the 1920 FAFSA year, the total Pell Grant that a person can receive with what would be considered a zero EFC. I will explain what I mean by zero EFC in the next slide. Is 60, I believe it's $61.95, which is basically $6,195 that a student can receive for a full academic year. Again, it works from a quick example, July 1st of 2018 to June 30th of 2019. This is a calculation of how they calculate the EFC to find out who is eligible to receive the federal Pell Grant. Basically, anyone who, when all the information, income information is reported on the FAFSA application, if the EFC is a little bit over 5,000, then the chances of actually receiving the federal Pell Grant is limited, or it's a very small amount. As you can see, this gives you a breakdown of anyone with an EFC of between 17 to 1,800 can receive the Pell Grant amount of about $4,441. If you had a zero EFC, then you would be eligible for the full $6,195. That's basically how they determine your eligibility. The second type of aid is federal student loans. Federal student loans is actually split into 2 types of loans. There is what is considered the need-based loan, which is the subsidized loan. The direct subsidized loans is available to undergraduate students. Once you are working on a master's degree or higher, you are no longer eligible to receive the you can't get the subsidized loan towards a graduate degree. If you pursue a second bachelor's degree, you can receive the subsidized loan, assuming you still have an eligibility remaining. And what I mean by eligibility remaining is, just like the Pell Grant has a lifetime cap, the federal subsidized and unsubsidized loan combined has its own lifetime cap. The lifetime cap that you can receive towards your undergraduate study between sub and unsubsidized loan is $57,500. Once you are at that $57,500, you are no longer eligible to receive any loans until you have completely paid off your federal student loan debt to the federal government. Schools determine your eligibility. In other words, every school builds its own budget based on costs, fees, and everything that is associated with attending, and then they determine based on that how much aid that you can receive, and that includes how much subsidized and unsubsidized loan that you can receive. You are required to meet what is called the half-time requirement, which is basically 6 credits within a semester. If you are under 6 credits within a semester, you are not eligible for the federal student loans. And if you have borrowed loans previously, then those loans you are considered not meeting the half-time requirement, in which case your lender might reach out to you to repay those loans because you are not meeting the half-time requirement. These are requirements created by the federal government. The subsidized loan has no interest while you're in school. Interest starts accruing 6 months after you graduate, also known as a grace period. While you're in school, the subsidized loan is essentially, the interest is in deferment. You are not, it's not accruing interest, which is another great reason why it's considered a need-based loan. It's still a loan, but it is a need-based loan. The other loan, which is the unsubsidized loan, that one is a non-need-based loan. It's considered a non-need-based loan because interest starts accruing while you're in school. You are required to repay, again, 6 months after you graduate, but interest is still accruing, interest is still accruing on the unsubsidized loan, unlike the subsidized loan. Again, school determines how much it is that you're eligible to receive based on costs and fees associated with the program that you're taking. You can choose to pay the interest on this particular loan while you're in school, or you can wait until after you graduate to make the payments. Again, same concept applies. It does have a half-time requirement, which is 6 credits or more in a semester. If you drop below that, you will be required to start repaying on your loans. The third option, which is federal work study. Federal work study is basically the schools are given a sum of money to give to students who are eligible to receive the federal Pell Grant. So if you're eligible to receive the federal Pell Grant, you are also eligible to receive federal work study. Essentially, in this case, instead of it actually being handed to you, you actually work to receive money from the federal government, and the school pays it to you. You just need to find a job that is within the federal work study guidelines. And most universities and colleges have jobs on their campuses that meets the federal work study requirements. It is basically part-time employment that is you working towards, while you work towards your degree. You are required to be attending part-time to actually receive this. You can go part-time or full-time. And it's available to graduate, undergraduate, graduate, and graduate professional students in particularly. It's basically a great resource if you need a little bit of extra money. You don't have to work very long hours. Schools do limit the amount of hours that you can receive. Work study is limited. So if you apply for the FAFSA a couple months after the new application comes out, you may not qualify for work study because, again, it is a limited fund source.